and welcome to my channel. My name is Jenny. I'm from jennycarddesigns. Thanks so much for joining me today. My YouTube channel contains content that is intended to share paper crafting tutorials and inspiration with all of you. I hope that you enjoy. In today's video, I'm going to be making a fun winter card project using the jennycarddesigns Playful Penguin stamp set. So I'm just going to pull out the stamp here, and I'm going to be using my Misty along with a couple of these little penguins and a little holly image from this stamp set, and I'm going to load them up onto a piece of Nina Classic Crest Solar White cardstock, and I'm just going to position my little guys where I want them. I'll close the door of my Misty and pick up the stamps. So I'm going to use an anti-static powder bag. I'm going to pat over my cardstock. I'll ink up my stamp with VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and this ink will stay wet a little bit longer so that I can heat emboss, and I'll ink up my stamp nice and good, close the door of the Misty and press. And I've got a little bit of jennycarddesigns Fine Detail White embossing powder, and I'm just going to sprinkle that over my little penguins, making sure that I get good coverage, and then I'll tap off the excess into a coffee filter so that I can funnel my embossing powder back into the jar. This card is a little bit more involved than what I normally do. I like to make quick, simple, and easy cards, and today is not going to be that at all. I'm going to grab a post-it note and stamp this image onto my little post-it note so that I can create a mask. Now, I'm just lining this post-it note up where I want it so that my penguin's head will line up on the top where that sticky note is sticky, so I can stick it down onto my project. So I just ripped off a little piece because I want to get that little piece of holly in there too. This is a very technical procedure and it turns out just fine. So I've got my mask stamped. I'm just going to put these aside for a few moments and we'll come back to that later. So I've got my heat gun, and I'm going to heat up my little penguins until they're smooth and melted. And I'm going to do a little bit of watercoloring today. I'm not using watercolor paper, so you want to be careful here. You don't want to oversaturate your paper when painting. Now I'm just using my jennycarddesigns dye inks for this. I have a little tiny piece of silicone baking mat on the side here, and I'm using it as my ink palette. So I've got a little bit of water sprayed on it, and I'm tapping my ink pads onto it. I'll use my brush and I'll pick up the water, paint it in the area that I want to paint, and then I'll grab the ink and drop it into that wet spot. And then it creates a nice soft ink blend. And if you want to layer the colors up, then let it dry and then come back to it so that it can get darker. Okay, so I'm just painting away here. I'm painting their little feet, and I've used a variety of colors here. I've used some red and orange, green, and blue, black. So I'm just taking my time, painting nice and slowly. This video is sped up 6 times. I'm not a great painter. I'm not very good at it, but I'm trying. I like to stretch my creative legs every once in a while. To try to, step outside of my comfort zone, and this is definitely outside. As you can see that I went outside the lines with one of their boots there, and I try. I'm not the best at it, but I like to make an attempt and see where my skills can take me. It's not very far in this card, but you get the idea. I'm just going to paint in their little scarf. I'm not worried too much about shading and light source and things like that. I'm just painting for the fun of it. And I'm happy with the way this looks. Super cute. I made a few errors and went outside the lines here and there, but it is what it is. I'm not perfect. Okay, the last thing I want to do to my penguins is give them some rosy cheeks. Because, it doesn't make any sense in the world for these penguins to have a scarf and earmuffs and a toque and not have rosy cheeks. Am I right? I don't know. Okay. All right, so I'm going to use that mask. I fussy cut it out, and I'm just going to lay it over top of my image, and hopefully it sticks. And I'll just be careful as I'm ink blending to make sure that I don't, wipe it away. Oh yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be ink blending. I'm using some Distress Oxide inks. I'm starting off with Selvage Patina, and I'm really inking up extremely well around my penguins. I want to get that area saturated nice and good. And then I'm going to come in with Faded Jeans and blend that in. And I'm doing like swiping motions outwards. I don't know why, I just felt like that's the way it should look. Looked pretty cool. All right, another color I'm bringing in is Chip Sapphire. I'm going to darken it up a little bit. And then I'm going to come in with Black Soot, and I'm going to pump up the volume around the edges. And then I'm going to take a dry cloth and wipe away that ink. So I'm wiping out, helping those colors to blend together a little bit, and making sure there's no ink pooled up around the edges of my penguins. Okay, next I'm going to take some pigment ink, and I'm grabbing a couple of the little snowflake images from the stamp set, and I'm just going to ink up a snowy pattern randomly on my background. And then I'll grab a heat tool and dry the snowflakes as best as I can. And I'm going to peel up my masks and wipe away any of the ink that might be sitting around on the side of my images. And it just helps everything blend together nicely. I think it looks cool. Okay, I'm going to peel up my little penguin mask now. And peel and reveal. And look how cute these guys are. I did notice that my mask was off a little bit. There's a little white edge around my penguin, but I mean, I don't really care. It doesn't bother me. I'm happy with the way it turned out. I'm going to grab one of these dies from the jennycarddesigns Master Layouts. And I ended up getting it crooked where I had to trim off the edges. I just kind of cut that out, but it kind of looks more like a postage stamp now. I'm going to line this up on a panel, and I need a sentiment. I grabbed a sentiment from this jennycarddesigns Stars stamp set. I'm not sure of the name. I'll have it linked in the description down below. And I grabbed a little merry and bright greeting from there. And my pigment ink was still a little bit wet, so I just brought my heat tool in and dried that nice and good. Grabbed a little anti-static powder bag and patted it on the corner. I'll stamp with Versamark ink and sprinkle over top of my sentiment. And this time I'm using jennycarddesigns white embossing powder, and I'll sprinkle that over my sentiment and heat it up until it's smooth and melted. This card is so cute. I really had fun making it, although I recorded this video about 2 months ago and I never got a chance to edit it. And now that I'm home sick with COVID and on lockdown, I don't have nothing but time. And I don't have energy either. So I figured I'd start editing this old video footage. And so that's it for today's video. Here is a close-up look at our finished Merry and Bright Penguin card project. Okay, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me. I appreciate the support as always. Coming up on screen are a couple of videos I think you may enjoy. Have yourself a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!